You mean the anxiety of
Yes.
the Uyghurs kind of spreads around
Yes,
and
I
creates
think
a
that's
bad atmosphere?
yes, I think that's exactly the point, is that it does generate anxiety and individual uncertainty as to what their fate is.
And what about the guards? I mean, is it an issue as well, I guess, for the guards who are in charge of the security? I mean, are they increasingly facing aggressive behavior because of that, or?
Well, there's a number of actions that the detainees take when they're frustrated, okay, which is to say no to food, to say no to recreation. So even though we can go forward with these initiatives and these ideas, they have to want to participate. And if they don't want to participate, that then promotes a climate that involves more guard and detainee contact. And we recognize that as a point of friction. And so one of the reasons why we draw this correlation between the Uyghurs and the uncertainty with conditions in the camp is because there's a direct impact now on what happens to those, especially where the court has already decided or rulings have already been made and they're still there. That now breeds a climate that can be one with lots of friction in it. Yes.
Can I ask you a slightly different question? Had you ever been to Guantanamo before doing this review, and what about the camp and the conditions there surprised you the most?
I had been to Guantanamo about 2 years earlier, and on that particular visit, I did not spend time with detainees. In this particular case, I did spend personally some time with detainees, and what I'm struck by is how uncertainty plays out over time. I became much more aware of the mental dimension to this thing after spending time and talking to them. And so that to me was something that typically does not leap out in terms of reports. And the benefit of having this review is that I come into this unconstrained. There's no limitations placed in terms of, from leadership to me, in terms of what to look at or where to put our emphasis. So the recommendations that we make, whether it's for video or whether it's for more resources towards camp improvements, even though we know the camp will close, these are recommendations that I think are common sense that need to be made. And so that's the advantage of this report. I realize that there will be necessary technical, fiscal, legal review of some of these ideas. That's okay. I think it's important to make this part of the dialogue.
Admiral?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Give us a spectrum. The treatment of the prisoners who are considered the least of a threat, perhaps all those who are designated to be repatriated. And then on the other end of the scale, the ones who are facing going on trial for their lives. What's the difference in the treatment between Camp 7 and 8? Is Camp 1 the most permissive?
Well, Camp 1 is empty. Where you find camp distribution right now is about 1/3 in Camp 4. That's approximately 80 detainees in a very communal setting where they have access to about 20 hours of recreation a day. Contrast that with Camp 5 and Camp 6, which are designed by U.S. standards for maximum security detention. So here's where, if I could, just to digress a little bit, here's where the NGOs, the outside group, and the detainees and the camp point of view sort of collide, is because many will refer to Camp 5 and Camp 6 as isolation. Well, Camp 5, and you'll find in the report, is built to U.S. standards. It's new, it's modern, it's climate controlled, it's clean. This is 53.5 square feet per cell, individual cells. And to some in the Middle Eastern culture, this is isolation. They're side by side with other detainees. They're allowed to have 4 hours of recreation time per day. If they're in a disciplined status, then it's 2 hours of recreation per day. But they have to participate if they want it. So as you compare Camp 4, Camp 5, and Camp 6, the military construction project underway for Camp 6 would open up options on Camp 6 to make it more communal. In other words, with the press of a button, to be able to open doors to allow people to move unshackled into a community meal setting or outdoors to recreation. That's the idea. If there was any risk problem or force protection issues, they would be able to control the camp very quickly. If there's a problem with Camp 4 today, the guards actually have to go into the camp to take care of whatever instability or problem that they have in the camp. This is all based on a governance model of compliance. So it's an incentive system designed that with improved behavior, people can move into Camp 4 with a more communal setting. There's a real limitation to that, because that model is actually based on our understanding of how to influence prisoner behavior favorably here. And we call that time served. So that what we do is we influence the length of stay in the United States. In Guantanamo, we influence the quality of stay. And so the limitations are available to the Joint Detention Group Commander are very limited and very narrow. And as a result, we take these initiatives that Southcom and JTF Guantanamo want to take in order to improve conditions there very seriously, and that's why they're in the report. We need to advance those ideas.
So Camp 5 and 6 are built to maximum security standards. Then what is Camp 7 built to?
That would be maximum security as well. It'd be close to a supermax. I have not toured a supermax facility, but that's effectively what it does. Yes, sir.
In your 13 days there, did you find any evidence that at some point in the last 7 years, the detention center was not in compliance with Article 3?
I did not look back. I took the allegations, the specific allegations, whether it would be associated with solitary confinement, the assertions of abuse during interrogations, any other allegations that were made available to us that were longstanding, and I applied them to current operating procedures and practice. I did not survey all of the literature to go back 7 years to find out if and when it had been. That was not my mandate. My mandate was by executive order to determine whether or not the camp is in compliance today, and it is.
But while you were looking through records and papers and videos and interviewing people, no evidence came up that the camp within the past 7 years was not in compliance or did not meet the directive requirements?
What we did look is for whether or not the command supported compliance with Common Article 3. We looked specifically at allegations over time. We looked specifically at those that were substantiated, and more revealing to us was how the command reacted and responded to that. In each case, the command took appropriate action, and there was discipline and accountability, which I think is really what we were looking for here. Yes, sir.
I'm a little bit puzzled by what seems to be a contradiction. You're saying that at one point, at one level, there's no violation of Common Article 3. The camp complies with that, yet you're taking what appears to be corrective action by recommending these changes and
I can clarify
injecting
that.
more social...
Yeah, I can clarify that. We can wait. Okay, we can wait till there's actually a violation of Common Article 3, but we chose not to frame our report that way. We didn't think it would be very useful. Those are recommendations for the review group. As I mentioned, they're unconstrained. And so as a result, if some of those recommendations cannot be implemented for whatever reason, whether it's resource-driven or it's manpower limited or it's technically limited in the case of archiving video, it doesn't put the camp out of compliance. So thanks for the question. I wanted to be clear on that point.
To clarify.
Yes.
Can I ask you about the video? In the past, the authorities down at Gitmo have shied away from archiving the videos, particularly of interrogations. What makes the request now different for you? Why the need for archiving videos, both the security cameras and also for the interrogations?
I think it's very important to be able to put everyone on notice in terms of accountability. One of the problems that we have at the moment is the number of assertions and allegations coming in about abuse. The only way that we can actually get to the root issue as far as we're concerned is being able to have undeniable proof as to the events that took place. We think this would be critically important to maintaining a humane condition and atmosphere at the camp.
Did you hear rationales for why authorities down at Gitmo in the past have not requested?
Yes. Well, part of it was technical limitations in terms of storage capacity. We've come a long way as far as that's concerned. There's also a concern that with the Military Commissions Act that we don't destroy any evidence associated with Gitmo. The problem with that is that, as what we're talking about is accumulating more evidence. So just the ability to store, to archive, to file, and be able to track all of that is one of the limitations in the past. I think given the history of what's in the public domain about Guantanamo, I think all parties would be served if we figure out a way to get through the technical limitations to this, put it on film, and then it's a part of personal accountability and a public record.
Did you have the last one? I did. Two clarifications. Did you have a number of those detainees who you would put into that high anxiety area where their future is so uncertain that it may have a debilitating effect on their mental health?
No, I don't have a statistical number that I can give you. I'm just looking at conditions, prolonged conditions over time, and when I look for guidance, I don't see it. And so it seems to me that the mental dimension needs to be part of the dialogue on what it takes to be humane. That's really the point here.
And finally, the 53.5 feet of livable space in a cell, how does that compare with civilian prison cells?
My understanding is it's comparable. Okay. Thank you all.